Today, we're going to tackle something a little bit different.
Yeah.
Something maybe you haven't really thought much about, but something all the guys out there who probably don't know, wondered about it at some point. Especially as you get a little older. We're talking about peeing habits. Specifically, the age-old question, to sit or to stand.
Great.
When you got to go.
Yeah.
What do you do?
Big question.
It might seem like,
Sure.
just a personal preference thing.
Right. Sure.
Right. You'd be surprised how much science and cultural stuff
Yeah.
is actually tied up in this whole thing.
Oh, yeah.
And especially how it relates to men's health
Yeah.
as we age.
It's true.
So just to kick things off here, get us thinking globally, I got a little stat for you. Did you know that there's one country out there where almost half of all men prefer to sit when they pee? Any guesses?
I don't know. I'm going to go with somewhere in Scandinavia.
Okay, interesting. So Scandinavia is a good guess.
Yeah.
They're known for being very progressive and forward-thinking, but it's actually Germany.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
A recent survey found that 40% of German men always sit down to pee.
That's remarkable.
It's a lot, right?
Yeah.
Now, compare that to us here in the U.S. Only about 10% of guys always sit, and 31% say they never do.
Huh.
So big difference there.
Yeah.
Makes you wonder, is it a cultural thing? Is there something else going on?
Yeah, I mean, you said there's this cultural aspect to it. It's fascinating.
Yeah.
But it turns out it might not just be about, personal preference or what's considered normal. There's actually some research that suggests sitting to pee might actually have some health benefits.
Okay, so it's not just about comfort. There's actual science behind this?
Exactly. There are real physiological reasons why this might be a good idea.
Okay, I'm all ears. Lay it on me. What's the science here?
So let's think about what happens when you stand to pee. You're using certain muscles, right?
Yeah.
In your pelvic floor to keep your balance, to, stand up straight.
Right.
And that can actually make it a bit harder to fully relax and empty your bladder. Now, when you sit, those muscles are relaxed, and that can allow for smoother, more complete urination.
So it's almost like standing to pee is like a little workout for your pelvic floor.
That's a great way to put it. It's kind of like you're doing a little exercise down there. And for some guys, that might not be a good thing.
Okay, how so?
Well, there's this condition called high-tone pelvic floor, where those muscles are kind of chronically tense.
I think I've heard of that. Isn't that often linked to stress?
Yeah, absolutely. Stress, anxiety, even just our modern lifestyles can contribute to a tight pelvic floor.
Right.
And when those muscles are always clenched, it can lead to all sorts of uncomfortable symptoms.
So what kind of symptoms should guys be looking out for?
So if you're experiencing pain or discomfort while you're sitting,
Okay.
or if you have pain during ejaculation, or if you're finding yourself needing to pee all the time, even if you just went, these could all be signs of a high-tone pelvic floor.
Yeah, that sounds pretty unpleasant. So sitting to pee could actually help with that.
It can definitely make a difference. By relaxing those muscles, you're reducing the strain, and you're allowing for a more natural flow.
Okay, interesting. So that's the pelvic floor. But I know there's another reason why sitting might be a good idea, especially for older guys.
That's right. We got to talk about BPH.
BPH, right? Benign prostatic hyperplasia. That's where the prostate is enlarged. And I know that's super common as men get older.
It is incredibly common. It affects about half of men over 50. And by the time they reach 80, it's like 80%.
Wow, that's a lot of guys. So what's actually happening there with BPH?
So the prostate gland, which surrounds the urethra, basically gets bigger. And that makes it harder for urine to pass through.
So for guys who are dealing with BPH, what does that actually feel like?
Well, they might have trouble starting the flow. They might have a weak stream or a stream that stops and starts. They might experience dribbling after they finish, or even that feeling that their bladder isn't fully empty.
Ugh, that sounds so frustrating. So how does sitting to pee factor into this?
There's actually been a number of studies that show that sitting can actually improve the flow rate for men with BPH. They can increase the volume of urine they're able to void and reduce the amount of urine that's left behind in the bladder.
So it's like sitting kind of opens things up.
Yeah.
And allows for a more complete emptying.
Exactly.
Okay.
Now, it's worth noting that for men who don't have BPH, there isn't really a significant difference between sitting and standing in terms of these measurements.
Okay.
But for those guys who are dealing with BPH symptoms, sitting can really make a big difference.
That makes sense. And it's interesting, thinking back to that survey we talked about, some of the other reasons guys gave for choosing to sit were things like better hygiene.
Ah, yes. Less splash.
Exactly. And just finding it more comfortable and convenient, especially during those middle-of-the-night bathroom trips.
Yeah, makes sense. Now I know some guys might feel like standing is more traditional or more natural, maybe even a little stubborn about it. But the truth is, there's no right or wrong answer here. It's really about finding what works best for your body and your individual needs.
Right. It's not about being manly. It's about being healthy and comfortable.
Exactly.
And hey, if sitting helps you empty your bladder more effectively,
Yeah.
I'm all for it.
Absolutely. And, regardless of whether you prefer to sit or stand, I do have one bonus tip for everyone.
Okay, get me.
Try to avoid distractions when you're on the toilet.
Like, what do you mean?
Like scrolling through your phone. It might seem harmless, but it can actually lead to other problems down the road.
Okay, good to know. Well, I think we've learned a lot today about a topic that, let's be honest, doesn't get talked about that much.
True.
But it turns out there's more to it than you might think.
Yeah, there's a lot to consider.
So we want to hear from you. Are you a team sitter or team stander? Let us know in the comments. And if you found this episode helpful, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe to HealthyCast for more deep dives into the world of health and wellness. Thanks for listening, everybody.